Hi everyone, it's Marlene from M. Lopez Bath and Body Creations. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be piping roses. So you see me getting ready and throwing everything out. I didn't get a chance to show me actually prepping for all of this. So instead, we're just going to get right into it. This is my regular recipe. This is my everyday recipe that I normally use, including Tessa's Silk. And what I did was I made a bunch of soap cupcakes, tons of them for Valentine's Day. Regular size ones and then my minis. This one is going to be my Lagerfeld rose. So I'm going to make some deep purple roses. Lagerfeld rose is actually a light, very light lavender color. It's almost white. It's beautiful. I've got a few of them growing in my backyard. You know what? I've got one growing in my backyard. And they smell really pretty. It's usually a light, delicate fragrance, but I didn't use the light, delicate rose fragrance. I used more of a lemony smelling rose fragrance, and it's almost right on the spot. Just with this fragrance oil, it's more fragrant. And I did actually use a fragrance oil in this batch. I don't normally use fragrance oils in my piping because it's either gonna make it too runny and take forever to set up, or it sets up entirely too quickly and it ends up overheating and going through gel phase right in the bag. So I knew how these ones behaved. Well, this one in particular, so I went ahead and added it. So I'm just burping the stick blender, and that really means just getting all the air out from the air pockets, as many as I can out from underneath the wand. And for some reason the stick blender sucks in air down the shaft, and it's horrible, but I've got to burp the stick blender a whole lot. And I want to get this going to a thick consistency, so I've kind of got a gauge about how much I need to actually stick blend this, and then after a while keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't get too warm, that it actually starts to cool down in the 90s at least, and it dissipates that heat regularly, because I don't want it to solidify inside the jug. I just want it to set up to a nice thick consistency, and I mean thick, like not cake batter. It needs to be like frosting batter. So I just tend to keep an eye on it and start mixing a few other things and let it go for a little while, and I check on it frequently. I just mix it up to break it up, see if it's actually thickening up or if it's loosening up. I went with a deep purple because since it's going to be for Valentine's Day, I wanted rich color. See, 112, too hot. So I got to keep mixing and trying to dissipate that heat evenly. And you'll see me butter the sides just to create more surface area. See, that's nice and thick, but it's still a little bit too warm, so I'm, again, buttering the sides. And as I was saying, I did a nice dark purple, because to me Valentine's Day is really rich and vibrant, and Mother's Day is when I usually do pastels. So you'll definitely see a difference in my color patterns with everything that I make. You're going to have to excuse a little background noise that I've got going on when I'm recording. You're going to hear some, I don't know, feet stomping and stuff like that. I've got a cat running around chasing flies and attacking another cat. And then I still have kids running around in the background too, so sorry about that. Again, you see me buttering the sides just to create more surface area, and what that does is just dissipates the heat. Down to 112, that's good. Or, excuse me, 100. So that's pretty good. I'm just going to keep playing with this for a little bit till I get enough surface area, and then I'll come back to it. I've already got the piping bag ready with the little flower tip. And I cannot remember what flower tip that is. I actually have several different kinds and sizes, and depending on the kind of flower that I'm going to pipe, I'll use the different types because I get a different frill. I'm loading the piping bag with about half of that. I don't want the whole thing inside the piping bag because then it's just gets to be too much to handle. And I almost overdid it. I do believe I overdid it a little bit still here. I'm going to go ahead and let the rest cool down some more. My hands are already hurting, so I've got to hurry up and get this done. And again, of course, I'm waiting until the middle of the night to get this started, so I'm tired. My hands hurt. It's been a long day. I've got a cat here next to me wondering what it is that I'm doing. And I'm just using my spatula to scrape everything down. I want to be able to use that piping bag again as soon as it starts to empty out. And it's just a regular size flower nail that I use. I've got a bunch of little pieces of wax paper that I cut up. I have an annoying fly. I always have to have an annoying fly. It's just not the same if I don't have the same fly attacking me. Yeah, I think I loaded that just a bit too much. I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of an S shape. See that? It's an S shape. And I love the little frill that makes. Make a big dollop there. Did not realize I was off camera, but I make a dollop and then I do a nice little build up because that's going to be the closed portion of the rose. Now I'm going in the opposite direction. Just doing 3 petals. And now I'm going to do another row. And little by little, I'm going to be opening up that rose. Making little larger petals. See the frills that are starting to show up? The more I angle the skinny portion of that piping tip, the wider or more open that rose gets. I just used regular scissors to pick that off, and I wanted to be able to show you that you don't need the little, I don't even know what they're called. They're the little flower picker-upper thingies, but I've got scissors. In Spanish, we just call them a chingadera. And you don't have to keep using new little slivers of paper. I don't always. It just really depends if I've got them or if I even bothered making them. This time I did, so I'm going to go ahead and use them over and over again. Or I should say I'm going to go ahead and use a new one every so often. I just wanted to show you that you didn't need to. And this rose is a little bit more open. It's going to be a little bit wider. Ugh. Again, I'm off camera. Sorry about that. A love the frills that I get with this piping tip. I do have a couple of announcements, so you'll be glad to hear that I bought a camcorder. It was nothing crazy. You know, it's 150 bucks. It's what I could afford, and believe me, I got it on easy pay, so I'll be paying it off for a while. And but it is a camcorder, so I won't be worried about the memory on my phone anymore running out. I'll have a dedicated camcorder for vlogging, and you'll be able to see what it is I do, and I'm hoping I get the hang of it a heck of a lot quicker than I did with with my phone, because it's just not working great anymore. I've got to get the camera angle a whole lot better, because I'm either out of frame when it comes to making my stuff or piping, or I am giving you like a full-on chest shot, and that's just no good to any of us. That one's pretty, but that one's a nice little fat rose. I should have probably piped a few more petals on that, but I'm liking it. Anywho, I am getting ready for Valentine's Day, and I did pour a bunch of Soapy Cupcakes. You haven't seen the bases yet, but you will. You'll see me pouring the bases to some of the Soapy Cupcakes, and then frosting them, adding my little sugar sprinkles and my soap embeds, as well as the little roses. I've got something like 5 different designs that I made, and they all smell different. And I made the regular sizes along with the minis, or I should say the smalls, because I have another size that's even smaller, and those are super cute, but they're, a little bit too small to actually, I don't know, I guess I would probably use those more as embeds, my minis. So I've got a small and I've got a regular. I'm thinking about doing jumbos, but really I have to see how certain things sell before I can even think about adding that to my line. My rose is starting to become unstable because the base is actually quite thin, so I'm a little bit limited as to how big I can make them. Now, if I whiten it up more and flatten out the outside petals, I can make that rose a whole lot bigger, and it'll cover the entire top of a cupcake. It looks really beautiful when done right. I think I had a fly trying to attack me. Oh no, that day I actually had a bee in there as well. I had a little bee come inside, and it kept trying to land on me too. I don't believe I'm going to show you the entire night of me piping these roses, but I will show you a few more. I want to get a couple of good shots of them actually being done. And some of the big problems I have when I make these darker colors is getting soda ash. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you get this white film on your soap, and it dulls the color. And it's really just a white film. It doesn't affect it in any way except the look that you were actually going for. And the way I combat this is I normally cover my soaps, and I don't, well, most of the time I don't get soda ash. I've been getting soda ash all winter long, but I started using a heater and keeping my shed heated to about 76 degrees and I've found that it's kept my vibrant colored soaps from getting that soda ash, including these roses. So I've had to make sure that I've kept that heater on, especially during the night for the next 2 or 3 nights. And I have, the good thing is that it has an automatic timer as well as auto temperature control. I was just cleaning off the piping tip so I can get a better hold of it. When that piping tip gets dirty, it makes everything very, very sloppy. So you always want to keep a damp rag around. And really, I learned how to pipe flowers just by watching YouTube, watching how all the bakers do it. Some of them just didn't work out well. Others did a whole lot better, and usually the ones that did the crazy designs made for the best flowers because they were able to show you just a slight flick of the wrist, and it made all the difference in the world. And they could show you the different piping tips and how to adjust them. I actually took some pliers to some of my piping tips and thinned out certain portions, and it made all the difference in the world. And I've got a sister-in-law that used to make some cakes, so she was able to give me some pointers. I couldn't repair that rose, so I wasn't going to fidget with it anymore. Roses are not perfect, and a lot of the time the little petals are torn anyway, so not a great big deal. And I guess we will come back, and see, this is the one that I overloaded the piping bag, and I've got a much smaller piping tip on this one, and I'm going to make the smaller roses for my smaller cupcakes. And I definitely overfilled this bag. See that? You can see my hand shaking already. I've got a little bit of a problem with my hands, but this consistency I like a whole lot more. It's thicker and more stable. See how my base is really thin? My rose is starting to get unstable. All I did was widen the base. With this smaller piping tip, it's a little harder to get out, but the consistency is actually perfect. And I just start to run through a ton of these. They're great. I should add that consistency with the larger piping nozzle when I was making the bigger roses. I just needed 6 because that's all I made were 6 of the large. 6 of the large cupcakes, so I only needed 6 roses. 6 of the large roses. Now I'm going to try and make as many as I can. At the very least, make 12 of the smaller roses. I'm trying to see what size is going to work best, or see what looks better, a closed rose or an open rose. What I plan on doing is piping with a 1M tip. Make that top white. You have these deep purple roses coming out of the center, but it's going to have a front face to it. I've got some little sugar sprinkles for it. They're just granulated sugar, the bigger type, and they're lavender in color. So I'll just sprinkle that on the white 1M frosted part, and then I'll top it with a rose. And at a later time, when I'm done adding on all the embellishments to all the flowers, I'm going to make a batch of green frosting, and I'm going to pipe the foliage around all of them, get them done in one shot. And I think I made something like 24, 26 of these smaller roses. So I definitely had a bunch to choose from at the end. And I just ended up storing the rest inside of a little pencil box that I bought at the dollar store. I ought to show you that. One of my videos, I'm going to show you how I store my embeds. I don't put them in little plastic baggies. I sort them out in little plastic pencil boxes, and I just stack them. I'll usually make them ahead of time. Some are cold process soap and others are melt and pour. I can't even see what piping tip that is to be able to show you. And the frosting kind of went down between the bag and the piping tip, so I wasn't able to see what it's called. I'll have to take a look back and put that in the description later. If it's not on there when I first download the video, check back about a week later, and I'll be sure to research that for you to make sure I have that. The different piping tips that I use. I really can't remember the name of the little plastic scissors that are kind of offset so that you can pick up the flowers. Makes no difference. Scissors work just fine. I've never had a problem with using scissors. Trying to clean off my nozzle there. And I did start doing my little pop-up shops. I do them with the Etsy Guild, and I started doing outdoor markets as well for, well, like little farmers markets. And I started doing Oak Glen. I'm looking for a few others to branch out to, but Oak Glen is a lot closer. So I'll be doing more of those, and the ones I do with the Etsy Guild, I have my regular customers in orange, so I'm definitely going to keep that going. It's a bit pricier there, but they're the outdoor malls, and like I said, I do have my regular customers there. And so I can't really just stop going. A few of them ordered over the winter break, so I was happy about that. With these smaller roses, I'm trying to keep the base thin so that I can insert them into the cupcake tops, but that's them all finished and ready for packaging. Until next time, bye.